show. Check.
Okay, perfect. Hello, Mr. Thomas Fisher. Sorry that we're late. Apologize to anyone that is viewing this, and here we are. So thanks, Thomas, for joining us.
Yeah, when you use technology, Andrew, right? My camera did not want to integrate with the with this for some reason, so I apologize.
No worries, it's all good. Alrighty, so today we are discussing going global with a capital growth strategy. And would you mind just sharing a little bit about you, your story, and how you chose to pursue this route, and what you see as the future in this space?
Yeah. Well, I'm Thomas Fisher, and my company is called Global Catapult Incorporated. I founded about this with my wife Janet about a year and a half ago. Just started to think about the future. My wife and I own a wood packaging company in the GTA, selling pallets and crates, and it was paying the bills, but it just wasn't providing the level of invigorment, and it didn't make me excited, and wasn't bringing forth the wealth that I wanted to create. So we started to put our mindset around an idea of 30 plus years of working in sales management, executive management, and all things in between. Before COVID, I was a business to business specialist, had a really good thing going. And then March 16, 2020, everything changed. Everything went upside down. But in my life, I've lived all over Western Canada, from GTA all the way to BC and all points in between, seen most of Alberta, most of Saskatchewan, met a number of small businesses, medium-sized businesses throughout my travels, through my previous career at an organization in Canada that's Canada-wide that represents small businesses. And through these encounters I made, I met a couple of really cool people that happen to be high net worth accredited investors and are connected to several, if not like tens of thousands, tens of hundreds of investors throughout North America. Started to talk about that, started thinking about that. So we decided to launch Global Catapult as a place where a unique offering to startup companies looking to scale could start to resource and source out capital in their strategy to grow. And that's how it all started. And it's been incredible. Like the last year has just been incredible. Met a lot of great people. We're putting some good stuff together, and we got several things on the go that are very promising. So we're very excited.
All right, wonderful. So, is this been like a life ambition, or is this something that you just feel like, you came upon it based upon the people that were showing up in your network? Share a little bit about how that just became something where you wanted to, like, wow, this seems like something I really want to do.
That's a great question. That's a great question. I've often thought about this because I really wanted to understand, like, how does this work, and why me and why now, and why my wife right now? Well, my wife has got a background in digital marketing. She's 30 years plus and she's like a WordPress expert, SEO, understands she took courses and she spent a lot of time learning that craft, which was another block for me doing this is that understanding. But to answer your question, I grew up playing competitive hockey, and through my competitive hockey life, I traveled. We would go to tournaments, and you had to learn how to talk to people, and you had to learn how to, like, work with teammates, and you had to learn how to facilitate various talents. I was a goal scorer, a bit of a firecracker as a player. So I wasn't very big, and I could score goals. So I'm telling you a story because throughout my life, I've lived in different places. Like, so in 16 years old, I moved to a small town in Ontario to play to have my first stint in junior hockey. But at 13, I was recruited to play hockey for a team in the GTHL in Toronto. And I moved to, imagine this, a grade 8 student from a small city in Ontario, moving to the big smoke of Toronto. I was so out of place, but I managed to meet people and connect with people and had to establish friends real quick. And then when I moved to Tillsonburg, which is just a small town outside of London, I went to high school in grade 12. So think about grade 8 year, very pivotal year, moving into adolescence. And grade 12 year, you're moving out of high school, going into adulthood, and having to meet a whole new group of people, whole new group of teammates, whole new group of school. Like everything's different, foreign. I'm living at my coach's house, and I still did well. I mean, I still got friends from there today. And then fast forward to 2000 to my 18 year, I moved to play junior hockey in Milton, Ontario. Same thing. Didn't know anyone. Got a job. And managed to build a network of people, and was very well liked by, fairly well liked. Not everybody liked me, of course. Wouldn't be that arrogant, but I developed a really good core of friends, and I fit in quite well. And so when I started with my life at the other organization that was across Canada, it was the same thing. I started out in Ontario as a salesperson, then moved into management, moved out to Winnipeg, Manitoba for a year and a half, made a whole group of friends there. It immediately got integrated to the community. Then I moved to St. Albert, Alberta, same thing. And then I moved to BC. And I met you in Kelowna on my second stint in BC. And the same thing happened. And what this is it doesn't matter what I've done or what I do or where I go or where I am. I've been blessed with the ability to meet some really cool and influential and very, very salt of the earth business people, individuals. And because of that, the company I have, Global Catapult, wasn't too difficult to launch because I literally went to my friends that I've known for 10 plus years now and said, look, I'm thinking about doing this. Here's the idea I've got. What do you think? Would you be interested in being available for me to talk to you if there's a business deal that is looking for money or looking to raise capital? And they all said yes, absolutely. If we got a deal, bring it to our attention. We'll see what we can do. So that's how we got here. That's the ethos of Global Catapult. Is that true?
Nice. All right. So, what makes you and your team unique from the other people in this industry? What are you hoping to kind of accomplish in this space?
That's another great question. So, well, I just explained about my wife Janet, about her 30 plus years in digital marketing and website development and marketing in general, and then my background in sales management, team building, and some of the athletic prowess I had. So what makes us unique is that we are able to connect individually with the investment community, investor community, VCs, individual high net worth accredited investors through our various networks. But the biggest thing that makes a difference is we don't just splash your deal, right? We're not going to just take your deal and just throw it in front of a bunch of investors. And the challenge is in most independent, what gives us a real edge is we want to prepare you for talking to the investor. So rather than you having to audition in front of a guy an investor that's going to write a check or an investor that's going to write a check and fumble it or not really know what you don't know, because they're not going to tell you. They're just going to say, sorry, we're not interested, or they won't respond. And that opportunity could be lost. So the idea for us is we want to make sure that we bring you into understanding that there's a process to this, and there's a way that you could be prepared for the investor conversation. Number one, are you sending the right information? Are you sending what they want to see before they talk to you? Then secondly, do you have the right material when they talk to you? And can you tell the story in a way that motivates them to say, yes, I would like to be a part of this? because there's a real, I think there's a disconnect. A lot of people, they think that investors sit around and they're waiting to write the $1 million checks. Well, they're not, right? It's the exact opposite. They're looking for reasons not to write the $1 million checks, right? And what does that mean? It means that they're not going to just do it because it's a great idea. They're going to want substance. They're going to want what makes you able to do it, or what is it about your product that is different than other products, or makes your offering better than the other offering, or what is it about you that's going to make this better than the other stuff? Because contrary to belief, if you've created something, there's probably a chance that someone else has created it too, right? So we want to help you, and we'll coach you through the investor meet. We will let you know what this investor's like. You're meeting with so-and-so. This is what they're like. This is what they look for. Here's some questions they're going to ask you. How would you answer this? We do a mock-up so that you're ready, and we give you the information that they're going to want you to have, and we make sure you have it. So that would be things like your pro forma, which is your financials, profit and loss statements, EBITDA, what's your forecast look like? Where are you at right now? What's your revenue like today? What stage are you at? And how do you get to where you want to be? These are all things that they're going to want to see, but they don't want to see it before meeting you. You can't send them a 28 slide pitch deck and I mean, as pretty as it might look, and you might think it's great, it's not going to make it to them because they don't want to spend time reading or reviewing a document. They want to hear you bring that document to life, but they've got to be inspired to want the meeting. And that's where we come in. We come in and we inspire the investor to want to meet with you. But we also have a marketing end. We have our marketing offering. We've got things that we will help you with in terms of the packaging. These are all the things that we offer. And if you want to know more, you can go to globalcatapult.com. And if you want to schedule a call, you can do globalcatapult.com/schedule call. And I'll gladly meet with you and discuss what your deal's like. We'll do a discovery call with you.
So we can see that sales is not your problem or issue. What do you think what are some of the greatest obstacles for preventing businesses from acquiring capital, either in the early stages or for projects?
Well, and I'm really glad you asked that, Andrew, because I'm going to give you some harsh truths, so I call it the gut check, or the look in the mirror and really evaluate who you are and what you're presenting and how you're presenting yourself. And what does that mean? I was just talking with an investor group of mine through the week here. I think it was Tuesday. I had a meeting with them, and we were talking about some deals that we've had that didn't quite make the cut, and we were talking about what was wrong with them. And as great as you think you are, and as great as you think your idea is, and as great as as awesome as you think you can be, I'll do it three things. Three of the biggest things that will create a disconnect with an investor and a business that's looking to scale or start up. Number one, you overvalue what your product is and what the offering is, and how you see raising the money and what the valuation is. So, everybody wants to raise $10 million, but is your company worth $10 million the way it sits right now? Could you tell a story right now that would get someone to say, you know what, I'm going to give you that $10 million? If the answer is no, then that's why you want to talk to me and Global Catapult, because we'll tell you what you're missing. It's not about how flashy and how fancy your material looks. It's about, can you put together a articulable plan and execute that plan? What's your corporate summary look like? Do you have an advisory board of people that you can point to and say, look, we don't know everything, but we've got an advisory team that can help us? These are all things that are often missed. And the second thing is going to an investor too early with an offering. What does that mean? That means that if you haven't taken time to think about what does your corporate structure look like? So if you want to raise money and you've just formed a company, you've got two shareholders, partnership, and it's a corporate entity, and you have 100 shares. You're not set up to raise money. You're just not. Because if an investor, you used to say you're raising $5 million. Well, an investor is going to have to see, and the investor is going to want equity. They're going to probably want to see it as a director or part of your board or part of your execution team. How do you include them in that? It's 100 shares. If they're going to give you $5 million, how much stake of the company are you going to give them? Are you going to give them 100%? No. So you need to structure, and that's where we come in. We have a team of people, and we have one of our network in our ecosystem. 20 years of corporate finance, has done tons of share agreements, partnership agreements, and contracts. So we can help you prepare that so that you're not going to an investor and not able, because the worst thing you want to have happen is the investor go, I love this, I want to do this. And then they look at your corporate structure, they go, I can't do it. I don't have, what's my exit plan? How am I going to get out of this? What am I buying? What's the valuation? The valuation needs to make sense. So we help you with that as well. And then the last thing is individuals. Everyone in a deal has to be reasonable. And I mean everyone, the investors, my team, and the founders team. What does that mean? You're not going to be able to hang on to everything. You're not going to be able to get everything you want. And you're not always going to be pleased with what the investor might value your business at. They may have a completely different perspective on the valuation of your company. And the key is to not react negatively to that discussion. The key is to not say, well, I don't agree. I think and get all mad. Because it doesn't matter. In sales, it's very simple. Nothing happens until the guy reaches down into his drawer and pulls out a check. So individuals can stump themselves, can block a deal before they hear all of what's being offered. The key is just to not react negatively to investors' questions or inputs or directions. The key is to be humble, and most importantly, want a good partnership, solid partnership. Because if they give you that money, what does it mean? It means you go from being an idea that might not ever get off the table to an idea that's actually moving forward and fulfilling a legacy that you're trying to create. So I guess the message here is sometimes we got to get out of our own way and sit on our hands and not speak our mind until we have all the facts, and then make decisions accordingly.
Sounds like you're really tapping into the law of attraction and making people attractive to people of high net value, high net worth.
Right.
And then sharing that influence with the people that connect with you. What would be some of the people that have influenced you, and how has it influenced you?
I love these kind of questions because I was just, when you go through the new year, I don't do New Year's resolutions, but I just, you think and you reflect on your life and you reflect on the people you've been. I got some friends that have passed on, right? Unfortunately, you can tell by the gray hair, I'm on the north side of life, and I've lost some friends. And one of my first mentors, really good advice, right? One of the things he told me in the beginning, because he saw me as a sales leader, knew I'd be a leader. And he said, when you're leading teams and people are coming around, never, ever forget where you came from. Never forget how you got to where you are, or how you learned all the things you learned, or how you possess the skills you possess. Never forget, because when you remember those things, you're able to get to the level of the people that you're working with, and you can understand where they are in their process, in their structure of their business, where they are in their stage of life. And then the second mentor that I always reflect on is he's talking about decision making, right? And he gave me a book called The Four Disciplines of Management, and it's easy to get caught in the whirlwind of life, being responsive and reacting and not being focused on the stuff that matters. The actions that are going to get us to where we want to be. And I suffer from that. I'm just like everybody else. But the biggest thing he said to me was, when you find yourself making decisions without taking time to understand whether all the facts are present, those decisions are generally the ones that cost you the most. So what am I saying there? I'm saying, especially in this game, when you're looking to raise money, before saying yes or no to anything, make sure you've got all the facts and you fully comprehend what you're making decisions on. That advice to me has been a very compelling form of advice, and I believe me, I've not always followed it, and I look back and I can tell you that when I've acted impulsively or acted on emotion without taking time to review the facts, it's cost me dearly in personal and financial life.
Yeah, how true is that? Purpose-driven lives. It's one of the greatest growth strategies there are, with 12xing versus not being so intentional or purpose-driven.
Right.
That's great stuff.
Oh yeah.
Now,
One more thing.
Yeah, sure.
It doesn't matter where you are today in your life. It doesn't matter where you are right now. It doesn't matter, because everything in this world, one call, one meeting, one discussion, can alter and change the complete trajectory of where you are at this very moment, negatively or positively, but you get to decide.
Yeah, that's good. Now, what should a business have in place before engaging an organization like yours? Now, you've talked a little bit about into a few of the resources and documents that they should have in place. Is there anything specific that is kind of that tips the deal into their favor that they could really focus in on?
Well, I guess that's another thing. What I would suggest is starting with a kind of a 3 stages, right? Number 1, what is your product? What is it? What problem is it solving? And is it unique? Is it disruptive? What is it? Is it, what part of the business environment is it going to be in? Is it IP? Is it intellectual property? Is it patent protected? These are all things you need to evaluate, because if it's not patent protected, if it's not an IP, if it's a fear of missing out opportunity, then efficiencies, really good storytelling, but also really good understanding of how you're going to implement your sales and growth strategies to get you from being an idea, a concept, to an MVP, minimal viable product, to scalability and growing into the main hockey sticking, they call it, into where you're trying to get to, so that you becomes too big for the market to just gobble up and make disappear. That's number 1, right? Being able to explain what's the moat, what's your barrier to entry, and explaining that and articulating that, having vulnerability, saying, look, we know that this is a bit of a hurdle, but with your help, or with the help of our advisory team, we're going to get there, right? And then next thing would be, who's the team? I'll encourage all founders out there. If it's just you and you're doing the marketing, the sales, the raising, stop. Take a moment. You need help. You can't do it. And investors, if the message is they're investing in you and it's only you, well, guess what? They're also thinking, well, if something happens to you, what happens to my investment? How are they going to do it? Right? It's important to understand. And that's where Andrew and his team can help you, is they understand how to, and he's got a team of people that are incredible at putting together advisory boards, putting together your proper structure, so that when you're talking to high net worth people, they can see that you've got an understanding that you can't be one and all and everything, because that's not an investable option. And then the last thing is just having a sales strategy, a plan that you can say, right now we're at X, and a year from now we're going to be at Y, and the year after that we're going to be at Z. And this is what we're going to do with that money. When you give it to us, here's what we're going to do with your money, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And most importantly, what are you giving the investor? You have to know that. You have to know what you're giving the investor. Are you giving them a share package with warrants? Are you giving them a percentage of the company and a seat at the table? Do you want them to be a passive investor and just a debt instrument with a convertible note? These are all things that you need to, and that's why you want to talk to guys like us. And that's globalcatapult.com/schedule call. And we'll walk you through that because that's an important thing to understand. That story is the most important story. Because when I send a package off or a 2-pager off to an investor, 90% of the time when the investor doesn't engage, it's those questions. What do they offer me for the investment? What's their cap table look like? So let's don't know this. If you've got a good product and you've had success and you've got a good executive team and you've got an understanding of your market and what market you're in and how you're going to carve out your niche or your space, there's a chance we can help you.
Yeah, that's great. I love teamwork makes the dream work. That is such a key aspect in winning in all sorts of parts of life. What is the best way to grow a business? Is it private capital? Is it raising money through VCs, or is it bootstrapping, or is it a combination of all three? What are kind of your thoughts and ideas on that?
Well, and that's why I was talking about FOMO versus patent versus IP. It depends on what your business is, but bootstrapping is always necessary, right? So if you haven't invested, let's say you've got an idea and your investment capital has been your blood, sweat, and tears, and your talent or your skills. Well, that's where you have to put a value to that. But then you got to talk about other people's money. So investors are going to want to see that you've gone to a family and friends circle or a group of people that have given you some seed capital, that have given you the ability to start to put this thing into reality, your idea into reality, or your business concept into reality. The best way to scale or to grow a business in terms of capital is to understand what the value of your company is, and then understand what you're asking for. So I've already covered that kind of sort of, but the most important way to raise money is to if you're going to go private equity, to know what you're prepared to give up. What are you going to give them? Are you going to give them shares at certain valuation, and then warrants they can buy more at a certain price? So if you need more money, there's that access. But then there's also are you going public? Do you want to go public? Is that your exit strategy? So what is your exit strategy? How are you planning on getting the investor the money back? If it's a straight debt instrument, then that's pretty straightforward. The investor's going to give you X amount of dollars, and he's going to say, I want this much back, and here you go. But most of the time, if your business is in startup mode or not earning revenue, debt equity is really tough to raise because the risk is pretty high in consideration. But convertible notes are options. Also giving them shares and saying we'll pay you out of dividends and keep you on board. There could be an agreement that way. There's a number of ways to go about it. There's no real right way or wrong way. It's the way to raise money is the way that makes most sense to you, right? What is your company, your group, your management team? What do they want to see, right? And then the investor says, well, I don't want that, but I want this. And you got to work together. Take your pride, take your ego, take all that stuff, leave it at the door, because nothing happens, like I said, until the guy reaches down the right end of his desk, pulls out the checkbook. It says, I'm interested in being your partner.
It's a beautiful thing when you see that happen.
Right.
Yeah.
No doubt about it.
When's an ideal time for a company to seek outside capital, outside investors?
That's a really it's not a complicated question. The idea would be, like I just talked about, raising some seed capital, putting some family and friends that believe in you, that know you, that are going to give you an opportunity to build. You got to build out your proof of concept, right? Then once you got proof of concept, if you need help getting to MVP, it just depends on what your product is and what the offering is. If it's IP and patent or process patent or that kind of ilk, you probably can get some good companies come in and invest, but they're going to invest at a much higher percentage than probably what you're willing to offer, right? Because there's no minimal viable product yet, so they're literally taking the risk of helping you build that out. But the key is the most important thing I can say, and this is doesn't matter where you are on the spectrum of being in sales or revenue generated or not, or is before you talk to investors, have a conversation with Global Catapult or similar and discuss what it is you're trying to do. Because the last thing you want to do is, I say, burn an investor a meeting. And if you don't take my word for it, like if you haven't watched Shark Tank or Dragon's Den, you see it every day, right? They say things like, you come here seeking $600,000 and you want 50% of your company, you value your company at $5 million. How are you getting to that valuation, and how would you expect us to give you that money? If you can't answer those questions, then you don't want to talk to investors. You want to talk to us so that we can get you prepared and get you there. And to start with us, like, again, retaining us it's not like a huge amount of money. It's not like we're not going to come here and because we want you to succeed, right? So it can be anywhere from $2,500 to $10,000 or more if you need other projects, things like websites and so on. But the bottom line is before you start talking to investors, you should have a conversation with people that understand what raising funds looks like. And there's not a lot of us out there. I would suggest you contact us, because we actually have a whole system of people, whole group of people, ecosystem of people that offer those things to you. So that's what I would suggest.
Yeah, that's great. I love how you brought Shark Tank and Dragon's Den into it, because they've kind of taken the abstract, the complicated, and turned it into something that is
right.
Simple or understandable.
Right. So just on that note, I wanted to point this. So Tom was speaking of Shark Tank. I don't remember the episode exactly, but it was a guy that was building chicken coops for the home. Guy had a great product, great proof of concept, had revenue, had everything going for him. Gets a deal from an investor, and the guy just destroys the deal. Like, totally goes there, gets what he asked for, and he wanted to go to Europe, and he kept focusing on Robert Herjavec. He literally had a deal from two sharks that wanted to do it with him, and rather than doing the deal, he kept trying to bring Robert Herjavec, and Rob's like, I'm out. Why are you talking to me? These are the things that you want to tell a good example. If you want to see a good example of getting in your own way, watch that episode about the chicken coop guy, because it literally, I resonate with. I'm like, you know what? That's the stuff that now I don't know how he may have been fine. He may have built a big business. Who knows? But he had a deal that he came to get, and he messed it up because he wanted one investor. Well, sometimes the investor you want isn't the right one, isn't the one that's going to write the check. Sometimes you got to understand, like, their partner might not be what you thought, but the partner that's offering the money and that has the ability to help you, you have to be open to all of it.
That's good. So what do you see happening in the space for 2025 with Trump coming back into the presidency? And then throughout, is there a massive shift that's coming to this space? And, what are some of the global trends do you see affecting the space in 2025 and beyond?
Well, I believe that the global economy is going to see a shift, because there's a lot of the stuff that's been hidden in the dark shadows is starting to come to light. And what do I mean by that? Well, the carbon tax, no one here is going to argue that, yeah, there's something going on with the climate, sure, but taxing us versus innovative technologies that can take the carbon out of the air or put more carbon into where it needs to be, that's where Trump's going to take us. Trump's going to reverse taxation and bring in innovations and technologies that are going to allow the innovators and the business minds to bring in GDP to reduce the amount of taxation needed so that the individuals can actually prosper and society flows better. How do you create a better society? Create better opportunities for good, solid consumerism. How people where they make money and they feel like they want to spend it on things that aren't necessities, or stockpiling because they're scared they're not going to have money to pay their mortgage or their car payments. So I believe that you're going to see a shift. And what does that mean? That means, and this is fine. I mean, you're a gray hair man. I'm a gray hair man. And most of us sitting right now, probably 60% of the population or so sits in the 45 to 70-year-old range. And it's just going to get more going on. So if you're a senior citizen or an elderly care innovator, the time for you is right now. You need to, if you don't have an idea how to get to market, you've got a good concept, good idea. Yeah, talk to us at globalcatapult.com/schedule a call, because that market is going to be something that you're going to see Trump and lots of countries start to really pour money into, because how are they going to house us all? How are they going to, what are they going to do with all of us? I don't know what you, but a nursing home is not the answer. I don't want to be institutionalized. I don't want to go to prison because I got old. That's what essentially what if a nursing home is, if you want to create it, it's essentially, no, don't get me wrong. There's a place for them, but I don't want it to be the only place for me. Right. So if you're one of those innovators that's got ideas, start putting them together, because I'll tell you, you have an opportunity and we can help you. And then the other area is definitely in resources, both natural and renewable, right? And all areas, biomass, biotechnologies, oil and gas, well reclamation. What does that mean? Well reclamation means they can go and they can fix these oil wells and then actually find more opportunities to bring natural resources to the table with technologies that are not causing environmental hazards. If you've got those technologies and you've been sitting on them, now's the time maybe to start bringing them back out, because I believe there's going to be a lot of capital available for that. And lots of investors looking for that because they know that climate's changed. And now I'm not talking about Canada, because Canada's got a whole mess with the capital gains exemption, and we hope that we can reverse that. But the U.S. is in a situation where, and I believe the U.S. and Europe, parts of Europe, are going to see growth. So it's a good time to be alive if you're looking to be an entrepreneur and raising money, I believe.
All right. Good time to be alive indeed. Now, with Trump coming in, one of the key pieces of legislation that Joe Biden and the Democrats were able to get in place was IRA, which we are very familiar with, the Inflation Reduction Act, which is a $370 billion piece of legislation they're pushing forward, which was a part of the green economy.
Mm-hmm.
Now, supposedly that's locked down, and administrations are not able to go and touch that and undo that. What are your thoughts on that? Is the Trump administration going to be able to undo that?
And then, are we going to go into politics a little bit here? Because I could tell you a little bit of things you might want to look. I'll point you in the direction, and you can make up your own mind.
Well, the reason I'm asking that is I believe it'll have a significant impact on the economy and the shift in the economy, and then the flow of capital, how investment money is going to flow. So is Trump going to be able to go in and remove the IRS through the Doge, company or guys? And if so, what's like, it seems like there's some massive shifts on the horizon, including crypto, and where that's all going to take us as well.
Well, you saw yesterday that he's putting together a crypto task force. If you want to know what to expect from the Trump administration, you need to look at the people he's nominated, and they all have a very strong link. A lot of them are strong, really good attorneys, lawyers in all areas. If you want to know what he's going to do with the IRA, I don't believe he's just going to let them flood the market with money. And I wouldn't be surprised if part of the IRA money that they think they're going to be able to embezzle and steal might be go towards the partnership with Greenland. Now, I know who said that? Who's talking about that? Nobody. But I believe that Donald Trump has a team of lawyers that are going to say, well, I know you earmarked $180 billion to Ukraine, but that war is going to be over when I come into office or shortly thereafter. And we're going to take that 180 billion and we're going to put it into Greenland. And we're going to develop technologies that are going to make our lives easier, better, and more prosperable. What does that mean if you're a company that is in oil and gas or rare earth minerals or mining? Guess what? Get ready. Get yourself ready because you might have a huge windfall. And by the way, in Vancouver, BC this weekend, there is a mining expo that an investor connection of mine is going to, and I am super excited to learn more about what he learned there. He's meeting with all these tech companies and all these mining innovative tech companies CEOs. So I'm excited to find out what that's about. But the other thing I'll talk about is you look at his team. EPA, Lee Zeldin. If you don't know who Lee Zeldin is, go look him up. Well educated lawyer, very smart, very knowledgeable about environmentalism and he answered the questions very well yesterday in his hearing. The Treasury director is Scott Bassett. Like, go look at that guy, man. Like these guys are all on the same page. They're not acknowledging the climate hysteria. They're actually saying, yes, it's an issue. But China's building what the Treasury guy said was China's building 20 coal plants. We are not in a climate energy crisis or energy race to climate initiatives. We're in an energy war. It's true, right? So what does that tell you? They're not gonna lock up their resources. No, they're gonna actually go and compete. Now in Canada, on the other hand, we'll see. We'll see, right? But still, my belief is that resource and energy are going to be a very innovative technologies are going to be very, very strong in the next 4 years. Very strong. And there'll be money for that. So the IRA, I think, is dead. And that's why they're trying to, you look at the administration, they're just throwing out money left, right, and center. They're trying to get rid of it all because when Trump comes in, it's a new world. It's a new, and they can take that money and they can slow it. They can reallocate it. Right? Some of it, not all of it, but some of it. So that's my prognostication on the Trump administration. I believe if you're an innovator with a technology that's going to make the world a better place, investors are going to want to hear about it.
Mm-hmm. And where does BlackRock fit into this? So we know we're seeing XRP go through the roof. It's at 330 here, and we have, like you said, a crypto task force that's coming in, probably being led by Brad Garlinghouse. We're probably going to start seeing a new SEC. So we're going to see a whole new financial system, but is it really a great thing if it's built out on XRP based on CBDCs and digital ID? And maybe I'm jumping into something I shouldn't be talking about right now. However, I'm wondering how much is that going to affect the economy, the US dollar, the USD, and then also investors. Are investors going to be prepared for the shift that's happening right now?
The short answer is I believe so. However, I would not allow fear of the unknown to stall or halt any ideas or development if you're there, because no matter what happens, we're not there yet. We're not going to be cyborgs, or we're not there yet. Humans are still
in the next 5 years.
Humans are still in charge. So we're still here. We're still necessary, and we need. And I've given you guys a pretty good idea, right? Like when you become a senior, not me. I'm going to work till my brain's done and I can't make a sentence. I'll be working. I have no desire to retire. I want to be like Warren Buffett. I want to be relevant till I'm in the ground. But to the people that get on fixed incomes, what are the biggest threats to your life? Not being able to have your autonomy and your sovereignty and your freedom to do what you want to do. Not have enough money to get you through the years of your life without being able to incrementally grow your income or outputs, because your outputs are gonna lower. And then you've got technologies like mobility. I was talking to my wife, and I hope someone's out there like think about this. And if you want to talk to me about it, I would love to talk to you about it. I want a stand-up scooter, man. I don't want to sit down. I want a stand-up scooter. I want to literally have a little scooter where if I can't walk anymore because I'm becoming immobilized, I want to be able to pop the stand on my car, fold it down, step on this on the like the Segway. You know the Segway? There's got to be a Segway out there for old people. I'm just saying. What a technology. Could you imagine if we had the Segway like for old people instead of these big scooters and with the baskets? Think about that. That's the kind of stuff I think about. That's the stuff that keeps me up all night, right? But there's going to be there's a renaissance coming, and it's our generation that's going to be a renaissance. We're going to change the way the world is lived, the technologies. I bought my wife. Are you ready for this, Andrew? I bought my wife for Christmas. You know what she asked for? One of the things, a mechanical jar opener. I bought my wife a mechanical jar opener. I used it for the first time about a week ago. My Lord, what an invention! What a lifesaver! Right? You push the button, pop, off it goes. Incredible. That's the kind of stuff we're going to have to start seeing about. Is how you're going to make the lives easier of the aging population. I believe that that's a massive, massive market. And I believe that there's a lot of money that's going to come available to that because they've got to do something with this. And they don't want to, they can't see us all become invalids or unable to do things. We still have things to do. And we're the ones that have money to be pretty solid consumers. Imagine the new vein of technologies, the new vein of consumerism that awaits the people that are willing to take a step out and bring their inventions to light.
Yeah.
So,
we have 8 minutes left here. So
yep.
Just in a short couple minutes, I'm going to reframe the question.
Sure.
We live in a data-driven economy now where
Right.
data is now the new oil. We're no longer, and this is what the IRA was about, is to tap into the power of data and using that data in a way that was surveillance capitalism. And obviously, BlackRock being the third largest economy in the world still wants to have that positioning. And so, even though Trump has gotten in, there's still a certain amount of power allocated to becoming the president of the US. That has massively shifted with blockchain technologies, with crypto. And, this is why this is so important. Right. So in 2 minutes or less, how are investors preparing for this massive shift? And then two, and maybe this is too big of a question with this short of time available. I guess I'm wondering, are investors prepared for the massive shift that's about to happen with tokenization and everything?
I believe the ones that are serious and the ones that are looking to park their money into something, that put their money into things that are going to bring return. I believe they're all prepared. I believe that they understand that they need to have protection of their assets. No longer I would say most of these guys are most likely not invested in one currency or one resource. They probably have a good spread of some kind of a hard wallet of crypto. Some will have a mix of oil and gas projects. Some will have a mix of gas of silver and rare minerals, rare metals. But the investors don't. One thing about investors are they don't want to hold on to the money. They don't want to, and they will invest in things, but to safeguard the thing. You're right. Things like holochain and blockchain are all necessary for the future. And I believe most of the investors that are in the market today have an understanding or a basic understanding of what that means and what's coming, right?
Yeah, that's the way I see it. I see the majority of investors have a basic understanding of what's coming and not really a mature view of it. So, that really ties into the last question here. And this will end off
that's another avenue of opportunity. If you're a person that's sitting on a data mining, machine learning, / concept that's not just a FOMO, but has some IP to it, man, you just jump on that. And again, we can help you be ready for that conversation at globalcatapult.com / schedule a call.
All right. So what is the cost of not hiring you and your team to do a capital growth strategy?
Well, I'll reframe that, Andrew. So if you look at this, so let's say you're trying to raise $5 million. You've got a company that's already at MVP, and you're at the point now where you're trying to build prototypes. Your prototypes, you're trying to market them now. You're trying to go out and show, hey, I've got this product. I'm there. What's the cost of going to an investor without the right information, the right data, the right presentation? Cost is you don't get your money, you don't get the ability to do what you need to do, and most importantly, you don't get to execute your plan. What happens? Eventually, the amount of money you got as seed capital or tranche of money you got runs out. Then what happens? You don't have a company. You're part of that history of companies that have been left on the floor because they didn't know enough to prepare the most important things first, which is who are we? What's our story? What's our corporate structure? How are we going to provide the investor an exit plan? How are we valuing the company, and how much shares do we have out? And have we got founder shares? How have we done that yet? How we put some money in the kitty to buy founder shares and have a valuation at 5 cents, 25 cents, whatever, and a cap table or an offering pricing plan that stretches out to show where the investors are going to find their way out and their way in. If you don't have that, the cost is your idea is an idea, and people that believed in you and gave you that money are going to be out of the money. And that's the saddest story ever. No one wants that. No one wants to have to look their mother and father-in-law who hated you all along, but decided to invest because their daughter said, do it. And you faltered. Nobody wants that. And I'm telling that story. I'm not trying to be mean, but it's just a story. But it's a real story. It happens every day. So before taking those risks, take a moment. Let us vet and not only that, let us help you find the right investor. Let us find the investor that gets it, that actually can, even if you're new, especially, can bring some strategic capital, right? What does that mean? They've done it before. They know this industry. They've got a stake in it. Imagine if you had someone that could come alongside you and say, I'm going to help you not only with the money, but I'm going to actually help you build this. I'm going to bring my team and bring it into your team. Could you imagine how quickly that scary, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't want to look my mom and father on the eyes. I don't want to have the discussions with my team. Imagine if you had a different story. I went to globalcatapult.com and I scheduled a call with Thomas Fisher, and we come to this idea and this understanding that we didn't have this. It didn't have a cap table and a proper financial statements. Our presentation, our 2-pager wasn't done properly. And all of a sudden we started talking to the right investors, and we found one that just was a perfect fit. And then 2 years down the road, you're telling the story about how you went from being a $1 million company to a $50 million company that's now on the verge of being publicly traded. That's a story I want to be a part of. How about you?
I can only imagine. Great way to end this podcast. Thomas, you did a great job. Thanks for spending an hour with us.
Thank you.
And we look forward to bringing more podcasts like that in the near future.
Right
we have a really exciting one that will be coming up where we're going to be sharing some intimate details on Justin Bieber's life and what that will look like. So
wow.
Stay tuned.
The Biebs.
The next one.
I want to hear about the Biebs.
We're going to be talking about the Biebs.
Well, listen, guys, thank you so much for having me, Andrew. And listen, everyone, have a great weekend. Great start to the year. And let's just hit out of the park in 2025.
All right.
As I say, it's time to be thriving in 25. Thrive in 25.
All right.
See you later. Cheers.